You're from the Philippines. There are not many tennis players from the Philippines. How did you become a tennis player from the Philippines?
I started tennis because of my family. My brother is 3 years older and he started before me and was coached by my grandfather. So it was a way for us to kind of bond. And he was my coach for 10 years, the first 10 years of my career. So, yeah.
When you're back home, are you recognizable? Do you always get a table at every restaurant? People say hello. How is it back in the Philippines?
Yeah, my favorite place to eat back in the Philippines is in my house.
And there you always get a table, I assume.
Yes. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But no, I wish I could go back home more often, but you know, the tour is very demanding and I'm really enjoying. And yeah, it gets kind of hectic every time I'm back home, but it will always be a very familiar and very comfortable.
The private suite inside Steffi Graf Stadium is typically reserved for royalty, dignitaries, and some of the most influential people on the planet. During early round matches, those luxury seats are often empty. But on this particular afternoon in Berlin, something unusual was happening. As Alexandra Eala prepared to face newly crowned Queen's Club champion Donovic, a familiar figure quietly stepped into that exclusive box. It wasn't a tournament executive. It wasn't a sponsor. It was a man whose fortune exceeds $100 billion, a man whose name has become synonymous with innovation, technology, and changing the world. Bill Gates had arrived in Berlin, and according to those inside the stadium, he wasn't there for the tournament. He was there to watch Alexandra Eala. The question immediately spread throughout the grounds. Why would the Microsoft co-founder and global philanthropist choose a WTA 500 event in Germany for a surprise appearance? And what did he see in the young Filipina star that had everyone talking? June 17, 2026, Berlin, Germany, Steffi Graf Stadium. The grass courts looked flawless under the afternoon sun, prepared to perfection for another day of world-class tennis at the Berlin Open. Thousands of fans poured into the venue, many carrying Philippine flags and eager to watch one of the sport's fastest-rising stars. As Alexandra Eala stepped onto center court, she carried more than just expectations. She carried the hopes of a nation. Only days earlier, she had suffered a disappointing straight-sets loss to close friend Iva Jovic at Queen's Club. The defeat ended her momentum and reignited familiar questions from critics. Was the demanding schedule catching up to her? Could she maintain her rapid rise? Was the pressure beginning to take its toll? Standing across the net was one of the hottest players on tour. Donovic had just completed an extraordinary Cinderella run at Queen's Club. Entering the tournament as a lucky loser after a late withdrawal opened a spot in the draw, she transformed that opportunity into the biggest title of her career. She defeated Emma Raducanu in the championship match to claim her first WTA 500 trophy and became only the 7th lucky loser in the Open era to win a tour-level title. The victory catapulted her ranking from world number 76 to world number 33. Confidence was overflowing, momentum was on her side, and she believed the dream run could continue. But history told a different story. Eala had already beaten Vekic twice. Their first meeting at the ASB Classic in Auckland turned into a hard-fought three-set battle, with Eala recovering after losing the opening set to secure the comeback victory. A week later, she defeated the Croatian once again in convincing fashion. 2 meetings, 2 wins, and a pattern Vekic desperately wanted to change. The crowd expected a competitive showdown. Instead, they witnessed complete domination. From the opening game, Eala took control. Her left-handed angles disrupted Vekic's rhythm. Her court coverage was exceptional. Her anticipation allowed her to cut off shots before they could develop. Time and time again, she forced the Croatian into uncomfortable positions. The first set disappeared in just 29 minutes. 6-2, Vekic searched for answers in the second set. She mixed up her pace. She attacked the net. She changed her tactics. Nothing worked. Eala was simply operating at another level, locked in, focused. Unshakable, every rally seemed to unfold exactly how she wanted. Every point strengthened her grip on the match. Then came the final moment. A brilliant backhand winner clipped the sideline and sent the crowd into celebration. 6-2, 6-3, a statement victory, a masterclass performance, and a reminder that Alexandra Eala belonged among the game's elite. With the win, she improved to 3-0 against Vekic and booked her place in the round of 16, where an even greater challenge awaited. World number 2, Elena Rybakina, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, a player who had defeated Eala only weeks earlier in Rome. As Eala raised her fist toward the cheering crowd, she had no idea something even more remarkable was unfolding above center court. Inside the VIP section, one of the most recognizable figures in the world had been watching every point, and his presence was about to transform an ordinary victory into one of the most unforgettable moments of her Berlin campaign. Word spread through the stadium within minutes. Bill Gates was in the building. Fans turned toward the luxury suite. Phones were raised. Whispers became conversations. Conversations became headlines. Even players competing on nearby courts found themselves glancing toward the VIP section, where the tech billionaire sat quietly observing the action. The sighting left everyone asking the same question. Why was he here? Gates has long been known as a passionate tennis fan. Over the years, he has participated in charity exhibitions alongside Roger Federer and attended some of the sport's biggest events around the world. He understands tennis beyond the scoreboard. He appreciates discipline, precision, mental toughness, the willingness to keep fighting when others stop believing. And on this afternoon in Berlin, his attention remained fixed on one player, Alexandra Eala. Unaware of the distinguished spectator watching from above, Eala continued dismantling Vekic's game with remarkable composure and confidence. What Gates saw wasn't just talent, it wasn't just athletic ability, it was resilience. The kind of resilience that cannot be measured by rankings or trophies. The kind that captures attention far beyond the world of sports. And by the time the match ended, it was becoming clear that this story was about much more than a tennis match. It was a performance that went far beyond the numbers on the scoreboard. Alexandra Eala moved around the court with remarkable confidence. Her trademark left-handed angles repeatedly disrupted Donovic's rhythm, while her smooth footwork allowed her to control rallies from start to finish. Even when pressure moments arrived, she never flinched. Every point seemed to reinforce the same message. She belonged here. High above center court, Bill Gates watched quietly from the VIP section. His expression revealed little, but those familiar with the tech visionary knew that silence often meant focus. And on this afternoon, his attention never drifted from the young Filipina star below. Perhaps he saw more than a tennis player. Perhaps he saw determination. Perhaps he saw resilience. Perhaps he saw a story that reflected many of the same principles that had guided his own extraordinary journey. When the final point ended and Eala raised her fist toward the crowd, Gates rose from his seat and applauded. It wasn't the casual applause of a spectator enjoying a match. It felt more intentional. The kind of applause reserved for someone who recognizes potential before the rest of the world fully sees it. At that moment, nobody inside the stadium knew what was about to happen next, but behind closed doors, a remarkable conversation was already being arranged. Berlin, Germany, June 17, 2026. Rotweiss Tennis Club, private suite. The room overlooked center court through massive floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, groundskeepers were preparing the surface for the next match while fans slowly filtered through the venue, still discussing Eala's dominant victory. Philippine flags that had waved proudly throughout the afternoon were now being folded and packed away. But Alexandra Eala wasn't thinking about the match anymore. Her focus was entirely elsewhere. Sitting across from her was Bill Gates, one of the most recognizable figures on the planet, the Microsoft co-founder, the philanthropist. The businessman whose influence had extended far beyond technology and into global health, education, and innovation. His appearance at the Berlin Open had already become the talk of the tournament. Now he was sitting face-to-face with a 21-year-old athlete from Quezon City. For a brief moment, the contrast felt almost surreal. Gates has long been passionate about tennis. Over the years, he has participated in charity events alongside Roger Federer, helping raise millions for educational initiatives around the world. He often speaks about tennis as part of his fitness routine and has joked publicly about his own limitations on the court. But this felt different, much different. According to those familiar with the situation, Gates rarely requests private meetings with athletes, especially during the middle of a tournament. Yet here he was. "Alex, I've been following your journey for quite some time," Gates began. His tone was calm and friendly, yet every word carried the weight of someone who had spent decades studying success. "Your run in Miami, your title in Birmingham, the way you've handled adversity, the way you've continued moving forward when others expected you to stop. Eala listened carefully. Her face remained composed, but inside, she knew this was no ordinary conversation. Then Gates leaned back slightly and smiled. "You remind me of something," he paused. "When I started Microsoft, plenty of people told me it couldn't be done." He chuckled softly. "When I began working on large-scale philanthropy, people said the goals were too ambitious." Another pause. "And when I started playing tennis with Roger Federer, there were definitely people who thought I'd embarrass myself." The room filled with laughter. Then his expression turned more serious. "But I've learned something. The people who change the world are often the people who refuse to accept the limits others place on them." The words landed heavily. Eala felt her breath catch, because throughout her career she had heard plenty of limits. Limits based on ranking, limits based on nationality, limits based on expectations, limits based on what others believed was possible, and yet she kept moving forward. Gates seemed to understand that. Then he said something she never expected. "I'm not here to offer you money." The room fell silent. "I'm here to offer you something more valuable." He paused again. "Perspective. I want you to think beyond the next tournament, beyond the next ranking, beyond the next match." His eyes remained fixed on hers, because what you're building isn't just a tennis career. It's a legacy, and legacies last much longer than trophies. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Alexandra Eala had faced pressure throughout her entire journey. She had overcome setbacks. She had battled criticism. She had endured moments when people doubted her future, but nothing had prepared her for a conversation like this. One question kept echoing in her mind. Why me? Why would someone like Bill Gates take such an interest in her journey? Almost as if he sensed the question, Gates continued. "I've been watching you for a while." His voice remained calm and deliberate. "Not just your results, your story, the way you carry yourself. The way you respond to adversity, the way you continue pushing forward regardless of what people say." He nodded. "That's rare, and that's why I wanted to meet you, the way you refuse to accept the limits others try to place on you." Bill Gates paused for a moment, carefully choosing his next words. "When I was building Microsoft, people told me it couldn't be done. When I started the foundation, people said the vision was too ambitious. And when I began playing tennis with Roger Federer, there were plenty of people who thought I'd embarrass myself." A small smile appeared on his face. "But I've learned something over the years. The people who change the world are usually the people who refuse to accept the limits others place on them." He looked directly at Alexandra Eala. "You remind me of that." For a brief moment, Eala said nothing. Her expression remained calm, but inside, the words carried enormous weight. She had spent her entire career proving people wrong. She had battled criticism. She had faced setbacks. She had encountered obstacles that many believed would slow her rise. Yet every challenge had only strengthened her resolve. Still, nothing had prepared her for this conversation. Then Gates continued. "I'm not here to offer you money." The room grew quiet. "I'm here to offer you something far more valuable." He paused. "Perspective. I want you to see beyond the next tournament, beyond the next ranking, beyond the next victory." His voice remained steady, because what you're building isn't just a tennis career. It's a legacy, and that legacy is bigger than any trophy you will ever lift. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Gates reached into his jacket and removed a small folder. He carefully placed it on the table. "The Gates Foundation supports emerging leaders from many different fields," he explained. "Athletes, entrepreneurs, innovators, scientists, people who are using their platforms to make a meaningful impact." He gently pushed the folder forward. "I'd like to nominate you." The room fell completely silent. Eala stared at the folder, then at Gates, then back at the folder again. For perhaps the first time all day, she was genuinely speechless. "I don't know what to say," she finally whispered. Gates smiled. "You don't have to say anything." His answer was simple. "Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting, keep inspiring, and keep giving people a reason to believe." The meeting lasted a little more than an hour, but its impact would stay with her long after she left Berlin, because Gates hadn't offered a sponsorship. He hadn't offered a business deal, and he hadn't offered financial support. What he offered was recognition. Recognition that her influence extended beyond rankings and scoreboards. Recognition that perseverance matters, that character matters, that leadership matters. For a player who had spent years fighting for respect on the global stage, the moment felt bigger than tennis. As evening settled over Berlin, Eala walked away carrying something she had never expected. Validation, not from a coach, not from a sponsor, not from a tournament official, but from one of the most influential people in the world. Meanwhile, the season continued. The Berlin Open moved forward. The grass court swing entered its most important stretch. and Wimbledon waited just around the corner. A top 32 seed remained within reach. Every match mattered, every point mattered, but something had changed. The meeting was never about money, it was about belief. A man who had transformed the technology industry and dedicated much of his life to solving global challenges had taken the time to recognize her journey, not because of a ranking, not because of a trophy, but because of what her story represented. Later, reflecting on the experience, Eala reportedly shared a simple thought with members of her team. He told me that the people who change the world are the ones who refuse to accept the limits others place on them. She paused. I've been fighting that battle my whole career. Then she smiled. It's nice to know someone like him sees it too. And perhaps that's the real story. Win or lose in Berlin, seeded or unseeded at Wimbledon. Top 30 or still climbing. Alexandra Eala has already achieved something that goes beyond statistics and rankings. She has become a symbol of perseverance. A reminder that resilience opens doors no ranking can measure. A reminder that humility and determination often leave the strongest impression. And a reminder that sometimes the most important victories happen far away from the spotlight. As Filipino fans love to say, laban lang, keep fighting, keep believing, keep moving forward. Because the next chapter is already waiting. The next challenge is already coming. And for Alexandra Eala, the journey is only beginning. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more WTA coverage, breaking tennis news, exclusive player stories, and the moments that shape careers beyond the scoreboard. And now we want to hear from you. What do you think Bill Gates and Alexandra Eala discussed during their private conversation? Share your thoughts in the comments below.